was just gonna say that I hate when people bitch about the weather. It frustrates me. It does.
So welcome to Arguably
Yes,
Correct.
welcome to Arguably Correct.
With Jeff and Jay. Are we going to use our real names?
Yeah.
I guess we just did, didn't we?
Yeah, I'm gonna use my real name. I don't mind.
So you hate it when people argue about or talk about the weather.
When they bitch about the weather.
About the weather.
And yes, it's in the winter. Like this year we had a later winter. It went, it was colder or cooler for a while, and everybody's like, "Oh, when will summer ever get here?" And now today it's 95 degrees, heat index 113, and everybody's bitching that it's hot. And I'm like, it's not that they bitch about it; it's that they always bitch about it.
It's one thing to say it once, like, "Man, isn't it hot out here?" It's hot. Like, yeah, I'm glad it's hot and not snowing. Okay, we move on now. We don't have to keep bringing it up every 5 minutes going, "Oh, it's hot." Really? I'm out here with you. I know it's hot too. Like, I don't know why you need to keep telling me.
And why is it always the most comfortable thing to talk to with someone about? Like, that's what always, hey, how about the weather?
Because it's you have it in common with that person.
I suppose that makes
sense. It's not political. Typically, unless you're...
it could be.
Global
warming.
Yeah, that too.
Or
you're like, no, I really like cold weather. It's like, oh, okay, I didn't know this was a hot topic for you.
Oh, see what you did there?
Hot topic?
Hot topic. Yeah. You punned that one right out.
Did I?
Yeah,
I didn't.
Yeah, you did.
That was an unintentional pun.
You did. That was a turbo pun.
You said terrible or tober?
A turbo.
Turbo pun?
Yeah, that old video, I don't know, energy drink. These aren't your dad's puns. These are turbo puns.
Never heard of it.
No, I have so many YouTube things to show you.
Oh man, most of my YouTube watching is educational BS.
Me too, but haven't you ever just? Like,
I went down the rabbit hole.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, for sure. Like 10 or 15 minutes. Like, don't go down the hole. I'm like, it's
right?
too late.
Too late. I'm done.
Like, I don't know. I start somewhere, and YouTube's suggestion algorithm sucks.
It depends. They suck if you're sober. if it's relaxing for me to sit down. So I'll sit down sometimes 10 o'clock in the evening and start watching YouTube, smoke a bowl. And then next thing you know, it's 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm not watching anything I started off watching. It's kind of a neat experiment to see where you end up with the autoplay.
Oh, you leave autoplay on.
Oh, yeah.
See, I don't do that because it tends to like play the same style or same subject too many times and I get bored with it. It's like, okay, I've already watched 3 videos about global warming, let's say.
That's why you've got to chemically alter yourself.
Is that what it is?
You don't get bored anymore. You're just like, wow. And I'll usually start off watching. I like to watch people who have videos that are very opposed to my views. Like for instance, I'm
the flat earthers. Here we go.
Oh no, no, we're not doing that episode today. That's a whole episode all by itself.
For next time, guys.
Yes, but I'll watch someone who's like, because I'm pro-choice, so I'll watch somebody who's got a video about why they're pro-life and why you should be too and why you're wrong for it, and then I'll watch their video and get angry, and then but then you start off with that, and then I'll end up watching like Asians dancing in dinosaur costumes, and then I'm like, oh, it's 3 a.m. and now I'm watching this for some reason. I don't know how I got here, but it's time for sleep.
Well, you bring up an interesting subject that I've had a few thoughts on. See what you think. Pro-choice abortion. Not to really debate that part of it.
Yeah.
My debate is on the parental rights, the father's rights.
Oh.
I've never understood why the argument could be made that, it's a woman's choice, it's a woman's body. If she chooses not to be a parent, she can terminate that pregnancy. So she has a choice, right, after conception.
Sure.
The man does not. If the man chooses not to be a part of that child's life, doesn't want to be responsible for it, he has no recourse. He is financially responsible for that child if the woman chooses not to abort the child. Why does vice versa? If she wants the abortion and the father doesn't,
and he wants the kid,
so a father's rights, where are they?
Well,
and why are they not considered?
And I think it goes back to the thing too of like, because everybody's big hang up really isn't abortion or not. It's the misunderstanding or a disagreement on when life begins. So
sure.
So is he
it's a part of the argument?
Is he a father yet? The baby's not been born yet. At what point does he become a father? When does he get those rights?
When he starts paying child support, apparently. I don't mean to be sexist about it, but it's true.
And it does. I guess I never really thought about it, but there is a I mean, you'd think he would have a say. It took both of them to make the kid. Maybe he does want to have the kid.
You know
But
what
again,
happens.
I
You know
think-
it does.
I mean, isn't there a responsibility level on both parties that if you're having sex that might happen?
In my personal opinion, unless you're, having sex with somebody who's sterile,
Because some of those
they can
come undone. So you're never
maybe
100%.
not the female. If they've had a hysterectomy,
Yeah.
they don't have the parts
Well-
anymore. I mean, if that's to happen, then you're gonna have to change her name to Mary, and she's gonna be, we have a new Jesus.
That'd be more believable.
Yeah, well, then there's that. That's for another time. But I understand the concept of, when does life begin? But just
Like, well, that does play into the part of when does he have the rights as a parent?
but a father never has the opportunity legally anyway to
Stop an abortion.
one, stop an abortion.
Doesn't
Two, push for an abortion. I know there have been. I've read a few.
Yeah, I don't
articles
know
that
much about it.
Men have
honestly.
tried to sue.
Yeah,
try to
stop the
prevent
abortion.
Didn't stop it. Injunction. Woman's doing it's legal, right? How are they going to do that?
Sure.
But the other thing is, and so that's then if he chooses not to be responsible for that child or doesn't want the child for whatever reason, shouldn't the man have the same?
I don't know. That's a really good question. I'm kind of torn on it because I think he would have some rights as well. I mean, it is something that he helped create. I mean, the difference being he doesn't have to carry it to term. It's not his his body that's getting that's going
But he's
through
going to be
all the
financially
pregnancy.
responsible for this child for the rest of its
Sure,
life.
if they keep it, he's got to pay for him.
Correct.
That's a good question.
Because I am sure that some women have made that choice as a financial choice. Like, I can't support this child. I don't have the means.
Sure.
The father isn't around. I don't know who the father is.
Sure.
Whatever the case may be. You know?
And I don't want to deal with it. So.
Exactly. So, but a man has no recourse there.
That's a good point.
And not that I'm saying he should or shouldn't, but the argument can be made.
Yeah. I've never really put much thought into it, honestly.
We want to talk about being fair. Well, let's be fair then.
Yeah. When does he get that?
Why can he
Right.
not say, you know what, I would like,
Well-
hey, Jill, I would like you to have an abortion. Jill says no, says, okay, fine, then I
So
sign an affidavit.
this guy's
that
name
says
is clearly Jack. Then
Jack and Jill. That's right. Hey, good,
Okay.
good call. So, I want to sign off on and say that I am not a willing participant in this child's life. Here's my rights. I have no rights to the child.
I have no rights to the child. I'm also not
And I'm not going
financially
to be financially
responsible.
responsible. Correct.
But-
I think that should be an option.
I guess what it comes down to is you do have to figure out, because if there are two people involved, they both can't make a decision. Meaning that if the father wants to keep the baby and the mother doesn't, who do you pick then? Whose right is that? You know what I mean? There's only two. It's not a vote. There's only two parties. So one of them has to have, quote unquote, the end-all be-all decision, and maybe that's why it falls on the woman, because she is the one that has to carry the baby to term, and it is her body that the baby's growing in.
So a 51-49 type situation.
Almost, yeah.
And I think that would be at least a little more fair.
And I think that's why the women can have abortions, and regardless what the man wants.
Well, too, even if you were to take it to court, I don't think you can't. I don't know how easily it is to prove paternity in early phases of pregnancy.
It's easy now, from what I gather.
In the early part,
Mhm.
like even the first trimester.
Mhm. Yeah, there's DNA testing that can be done.
Right, but I mean, you'd have to have an amniocentesis, right?
I don't know what the procedures are called, but I know people that have had questions about that.
About paternity.
Yes, very early on.
Really?
And I didn't know you could do that early either. And we're talking within like 8 weeks, 6 weeks, 8 weeks.
So there's still a
something like
window,
that.
though. There's still a window of opportunity for ambiguity. You don't know.
Sure.
Had
yeah.
no way to prove it. So if a woman wanted to have an abortion during that time period, let's just arguably say, that, up to 8 weeks, that's
Yeah.
when you can find out. Well, for those first 8 weeks, that the woman could contend that, you're not the father.
Well, yeah, and that's always a matter of opinion on when this is, when does it become life? And that would, just like, people saying, well, can you, at what point is it a person? That's why some people consider it an abortion. Some people consider it murder. The super religious people think that as soon as those things touch,
Sure.
boom, you can't touch it. You're done now. And even if, let's say that the father did want to have the baby, and the mother didn't, even if, how do you force someone to stay pregnant?
my pulpit here is father's rights. Right to or right to not. Like that.
Yeah.
They don't have any.
I don't think we have that right. Yeah.
No, you don't have any.
It doesn't exist. And I don't know. I don't know that it should. I don't know if you might want to have a kid, but again, if you want to actively have a child, you probably should have had that conversation ahead of time.
Well, for sure, and that goes back to the point. If you're going to have intercourse with another person, then you need to, in your head, fully believe that this is a possibility.
Yeah, that might
and
happen.
actually, it's probably more of a likelihood than it is a possibility.
Well, it's definitely more possible. Definitely more likely than if you don't.
It's true.
I
don't think there's a lot of toilet seat babies out there.
No, I don't think that's a thing.
But that'd be a great band name for anybody listening.
Toilet seat babies.
Toilet seat babies.
I'd buy the CD.
I think I would too. It'd probably be some horrible scream core.
I think it'd be a really, really, out there.
How awesome would it be
Heavy
if it was a
punk.
bluegrass band though?
No, that'd be great. Or a gospel.
A gospel
a bluegrass spot.
Toilet seat babies.
Toilet seat babies.
That'd be great. But you don't hear too much argument of men's right. I know it has. I have heard a little bit more lately talking about it on this level.
Well, and I think it's because women didn't have rights for so long that was an issue for a long time. And I mean, there's some that still argue they don't have equal rights even now. And I'm not a woman, so I don't really know. I mean, it seems like they do. I don't know many people who look down on women for not, for anything really.
I think that's because of the circle of people you probably hang
That could
around.
be. That
So
could be.
confirmation bias, maybe. I don't know if that's accurate.
Possible.
But yeah, I'm definitely people who don't see women the same way we do, especially outside of our country.
Well, yeah, but I don't get too much into the worldview, just
Yeah.
because none of my business. I don't live there.
It is tough to have a finger in that kind of.
When again, if you're fingering, there's
Pot.
probably no chance of a kid. So
Well, it depends what you did earlier. Fingernail babies.
fingernail babies. Another
I've
good,
grossed myself.
another
up.
good gospel band name. Fingernail babies.
Well, that's my opinion on fathers' rights when it comes to abortion.
It's a good question. You
it's a
ask a lot
lead-in.
of questions that bug me because you're always asking me questions that I don't really necessarily have a huge opinion on because it's so broad. I don't really know where I stand on things.
This is shit I think about
know?
in the shower. See, these are the problems I
Yeah.
try to solve in my head. I don't get anywhere.
What is it even a problem? Really?
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I think from my own personal standpoint, when I was younger, and not that I'd never wanted children, but when the
Good job so far.
right, yeah, for sure. At least so far as I know.
Yeah.
If you're out there.
I don't have
live
any
here.
money.
Yeah, I have no money. There's nothing here. Just move on.
It's barren.
Yeah. There was a time that when I was a little bit younger, thinking, "Hey, that is a possibility." And whereas I don't want children, but if and we'll get into this later, but if God decides to put one into my life, however it happens, because again, I
stork.
consciously take that choice to, know that procreation is possible from intercourse.
Sure.
So I know that's possible. I don't think abortion is a form of birth control. That's just
Oh,
my personal choice.
I mean,
but people
yeah.
do use it as a form of birth control.
sure. And again, I don't really. I'm of the belief, I guess. I really don't care what other people do.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole
To the
other
point, if you're rocking out, an abortion every 6 months, I just don't care. It doesn't affect me. I mean, it's just how I feel about it. I agree with you. It's probably not right, but I don't feel like I have the right to tell them what to do.
Granted, and it came up in a conversation, the bar conversation, I think, at one time with
those are the
somebody.
best.
Yeah, just BS and talking about if you have kids, what would you do? Well, what I'm like, well, what if the woman wanted the abortion and the man didn't? I asked
Sure.
the woman, they're like, tough
Too
toenails.
bad,
And
yeah.
I'm like, wait a minute. How is this?
But
You
again, it
talk
has
about
to-
being fair. Let's just at least acknowledge that you're not considering the rights of the father in this decision. And I just think it needs to be spoken about. It needs to be considered.
But if
should
the-
it be changed? I don't know.
If this Jack and Jill are talking, so Jill's pregnant, Jill wants to get rid of the baby. Jack doesn't. They have the conversation. And let's say Jill is very open and she sits down and they both don't argue about it. They actually have a good, meaningful conversation where ideas are exchanged and everything else.
Utopian society. Yes.
I'm going out on a limb here because that's not how people talk. But that's what I'm. And at the end of it, Jill still doesn't want to have the baby. Now, she listened to everything Jack had to say, still doesn't want the baby. So again, if with only two people involved, only one of them can make that choice. Is it fair for Jack to say, well, too bad you're having this kid anyway? Or that's why I think that it is the woman's decision, because at the end of it, it is her body. So it sucks for Jack, but maybe Jack should have been fucking somebody who was more in tune with where he was in life that would want to keep the baby. So that's why Jack doesn't get to keep the baby.
Well, I think this happens too in families that are already established. A husband and a wife who've been married, have 2 kids, and they find out they are pregnant again. And,
Take it out.
And the wife, they do an amniocentesis and find out that there's some kind of abnormality with the fetus.
I wouldn't even do that. I'd just be like, no, I'm done. No, that's where I am in life. I've had 2 kids. I'm done having kids.
But it does. Here's a husband and wife who have agreed to have a family. They're trying for children, right?
Mm-hmm.
So to your point, I'm just saying. To your point, you said that you need to be with somebody more willing. Et cetera.
Sure.
So they are. They're willing. You're trying for children. You're in a family. You're in a stable household. The wife gets pregnant and then decides that to do a DNA check or whatever,
sure,
and finds that the child, let's just say, has a high probability of being diagnosed with Down syndrome.
Okay.
Right. And the mother says, no, I don't want to deal with this. I can't handle it. Whatever her reasons are, right or wrong, and I'm not arguing that.
Sure.
But the father has a different belief system than that. And in here, he's married to this person. This is his wife, his family. I mean, there's objectively an agreement of sorts for a family for these things. And this person is choosing, which again, 5149, I get it.
Yeah.
That her body, and again, not taking those rights away, but I just think the conversation needs to be elevated for the man's rights when it comes to those kind of issues.
But
now,
in that,
on keeping it and not keeping it.
Yeah. But in that scenario you just laid out, like the only reason she would have for not wanting to have the kid is that it might have Down syndrome, and that's a shitty thing to do.
It is. I mean, again, it is a terrible
just because
thing. But people, it does happen.
I know.
It absolutely does. Some people
but
think that they can't take care of,
But it's if your goal in this was to have a child, who cares if your child comes out different than other children? Who cares if he's quote unquote more of a challenge? Like, what kind of so what? It's still your kid.
That's
you still made him.
There's a should be and a is.
And again, I only say that in
category there.
For me. I guess the people that do that, again, I am for the pro-choice. So I don't. It's not my kids. I don't care what they do with them. I guess maybe it's insensitive, but I don't care if they keep them. I don't care if they don't. It doesn't affect me really.
Yeah.
So I just feel like it's not my place. But I just think it's a shitty thing to do that test and be like, oh, this kid might have some issues that I don't want to deal with. I'm looking for the perfect child. That doesn't sound like Hitler at all, does it? I just think that makes you a bad person if you're like, oh, this kid might be Down syndrome or whatever, and then you're just like, nah, I don't want it anymore.
I can't say I agree or disagree with that one. I don't know if I've had enough thought into that to have a solid opinion.
I never thought about it until you brought it up just now.
I think until you're in that situation,
I'm reactionary.
I think, and that's a lot of.
I'd never be in this situation. I would never have done a test to find out anything like that. You just have the kid.
But sometimes they do these tests because they may have to do different, what do they call it, prenatal care.
Oh yeah, okay.
But you inadvertently find out other things.
I still wouldn't.
Sure, personally you would.
Well, back when I was trying to have kids. Mm-hmm. Now I would be like, don't bother with the test. Get rid of it. take it out now.
I don't want to know if it's going to be the next LeBron James.
I don't.
Or
well, in that case, I'm not worried about it. It's not mine. I have no athletic ability at all. Oh, and I'm white, so there's that, I guess.
That took a turn. I'm not sure where you're going with that.
All sides, yeah. But I think back when I was actively wanting kids, and if that would have happened, I don't see. I would have. I mean, yeah, okay, more of a challenge or whatever, but who cares? Like, that's still what.
I mean, so there we leave it. I think if anybody has any comments on that, you can.
Yeah, comment below. Tell us how we're wrong. Be nice.
It's just a conversation.
Pose a good argument.
Exactly what we're about is trying to have an idea and explain how you get to this idea. What's your logical chain of thought? Even if you don't agree or you do agree, that's the exercise here. I think that's what what we're kind of going for is
a good discussion.
Get people to start. Yeah, a good discussion. Yes, they can be emotional content or emotionally charged conversations, but trying to leave the emotional part out of it and just talk about it from I don't want to say a bystander or a non-emotional way of thinking.
You never know when someone or something might change your mind.
Absolutely.
And the best thing you can do is have conversations with people and share your viewpoints. And you might change their mind. You might get your mind changed. Who knows? But having a good civil discussion about things and making really terrible jokes about it at the same time is usually a pretty good way to go about it.
It is the way we're going to go about it.
Yes.
So this has been Arguably Correct with Jay and Jeff.
Or Jeff and Jay.
However you want it.
Right.
We'll leave that poll there, too.
Well, we'll have to do a vote
Yeah,
after we get a few things
You
out.
can just call them Jay and Jay.
Oh, there you go.
But that's really your name. I mean, it's not your name, but it's
It's
what
what
you
I
go by.
Yeah, close enough.
So,
My moniker.
Yeah. You could be confusing, I suppose, right? Right, Jay? Right, Jay?
Confusing.
Jay said it. Did Jay say it? Which Jay? Is it Jay? Or is it actually Jay for Jeff Jay? Yeah.
I'm already confused. And that's enough. We'll see you guys next time.
Until next time.